Saudi Arabia
Yep.
ditches the U.S. dollar, will not be renewing 50-year petrodollar agreement with the United States. So Saudi Arabia has decided not to renew its decades-long petrodollar agreement with the U.S., which could jeopardize their trade relationship. The move is part of a broader effort to reduce dependency on the U.S. dollar. The original agreement, which ensured U.S. oil supply in return for military support and cooperation, is now void. Saudi Arabia will now sell oil in multiple currencies, including Chinese ruby, euros, yen, the yuan.
Yep. And
but China has two currencies.
There's alternative currency that they're trying to promote.
Chinese RMB. But instead of exclusively US dollars. So they're going to be selling it. And not just US dollars anymore. They're going to be selling it. You got crypto? Here, take it. The decision has sparked speculation about the shift towards a more multipolar financial system that challenges the dominance of the US dollar. Okay. A lot to unpack here.
A ton.
How do we feel about Saudi Arabia moving away from the US dollar?
Gotcha. Told you. Remember 2 years ago? I started talking about BRICS and everyone's like, yo, you're being a fearmonger. Listen, if you don't read more than 50 pages a year, you can't call me a conspiracy theorist or a fearmonger. For a while, because I wanted to wait to talk about this before the news was official, but I keep saying we have lost our power. The dollar is not what it used to be. The dollar's been falling for 50 years. Our dominance is falling, and let's be very honest, because of leadership or lack thereof of amazing leadership, no one fears us. I keep saying it like America's like the 70-year-old OG who was tough in 1973. And it was cool when you got the 6-shooter. Saudi Arabia got the Draco, my guy. It's over with. Like, this isn't going to lead to an immediate collapse of America, but over the next 30 years, we're going to see a degradation of our country. I was talking about this with someone the other day, but for the first time in history, like, white Americans want to leave America. They used to tell everybody that was not a citizen, go back to your native land, and now they're trying to occupy all the native lands. I think we've lost our way. We lost our power. And as a result, other countries honestly just tired of our shit. And we are seeing the super team of countries being formed. Like, if y'all thought they were mad when LeBron left to go to Miami, wait until they start selling oil and other currencies and it has an official impact on our bottom line in our country. Pay attention. Shit is going to get real tricky, especially coming into like this election season and a couple of years after. It's not good for us.
Okay, so we have some the research department, RMB is the official currency, while the yuan is the principal unit of measurement. So okay, interesting.
Shout out to colleague and research department and executive producer.
So the leader of Saudi Arabia, you familiar with him?
Vaguely.
Interesting geopolitical situation. I think Saudi Arabia is an interesting country. So the official leader of Saudi Arabia is King Salim bin Abdul Al Saud. Right?
Great job.
Now, however, the unofficial ruler is Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman, better known as MBS. So he's the one that's really running the country. His father's like 90 years old. He's not dead, so he's officially the leader, but he's not really running things. Now, if you remember, MBS is interesting because he's the guy. Remember a couple years ago when he rounded up, he put his uncle in jail. He jailed like 30 different people for corruption. Yeah. He really changed the whole entire country. He's the one that allowed women to have driver's license, He's the one that's been behind all of this, like bringing DJ Khaled and Future and having these musical concerts, building the wall, all of this innovation, all of this money that's spent on tourism. That was never part of Saudi Arabia's plan until
So
he
he's like the
actually.
chief vibes curator for real.
Yeah. But then he's also the one that, they said allegedly was responsible for killing that journalist. Remember the journalist from Turkey? If you remember, that was a big critic of Saudi Arabia, and he got killed no, he was from Saudi Arabia. He got killed in a Turkish Saudi Arabia embassy. He went into the embassy in Turkey to get married. I think he had to get like his legal papers to get married. He walked in and he never came out. And that was a big thing in America, and they tried to put sanctions on Saudi Arabia, and it was like a whole world backlash. So he's an interesting guy because he's revolutionized the country. He's taken power. It's like Game of Thrones. He's been able to actually consolidate power very quickly, and he's a forward-thinking person. He's extremely intelligent, but they also say that he runs things with a pretty iron fist. The reason why I'm referencing this is because it's important to know the political landscape. Saudi Arabia has been allies with America for 50 years, right? And they've been an extremely important ally to America, obviously, because they have the world's greatest resource, which is oil, right? So Saudi Arabia and America has always been worked very, very closely. Every single president, Republican, Democrat, didn't matter. But now you see new leadership coming into play, right? And maybe perhaps they're not going with the same playbook of being America's best friend, right?
Yep.
They're saying, okay, well, let's keep our options open. It's like, you know what I mean? Like, okay, I'm still going to be cordial with you, but I'm also going to be cordial with Russia. I'm also going to be cordial with China. I'm also going to be cordial with every single person. Really, like, I'm open for business. I'm not going to just play to your political needs because your power has declined and our wealth has only increased, right? Yep. And people still need oil. Even though there's electric cars, people still need oil, right? And Saudi Arabia has also done a good job of diversifying their portfolio where they've invested in real estate, crazy stocks, their sovereign fund. So
amazing. Saudi Aramco, Live Golf. You see that they're trying to buy all the different divisions of boxing and make one league.
Yeah. So this is an interesting move because it really speaks to a few different things. It speaks to America's waning influence in the world.
Told you.
It speaks to the weakening of the American dollar.
Gotcha.
It also speaks to the rise of America's enemies as far as Russia, China, having more influence, where you just can't bully us out of the situation anymore. Previously, you could have been like, okay, you're only going to do business in American dollars, or we're going to have some level of, there's going to be consequences if you don't do that. Now they're like, well, you can't tell me what to do anymore because you don't really have enough power to provide consequences. And if you do give me consequences, then I'll just work with China.
And this is a problem when you empower your enemies. All the money that we spend in other countries, tricking off the bag in foreign affairs that we should not be involved in, makes them more powerful. And then wait till India really gets into the fold. So now we have India, China, oil. Where's everyone who was saying that this was not going to happen? It wasn't that long ago. And BRICS has been formed what, 12 years ago? So in a little bit more than a decade, they have now made a power move on the chessboard. And like you said, if they lose, that's great. They have China. They have other countries. They have partnership with Russia. And we've been the bully for so long. Now, what happens when a person is a bully? Either they get hit in the nose or the school teams up and they jump the bully. Sorry. Putin's a bigger bully. Chinese leadership is a bigger bully. Sucks. And we have weak leadership. Like, honestly, if I was a dictator in another country and I looked at our leadership, I'm not going to get chumped by somebody who can't remember what to walk off the stage. Sorry. Ain't nobody comes to you, Otis. I'm sorry, yo. It just looks bad. We need more competent leadership. But if not, this is what happens. This is what happened. And back to 48 Laws of Power. There's a lot of things I don't like in that book, but if you are going to destroy completely. Because now our enemies have become the bullies that we don't want to face. So
the person that we can't speak about yet, when I spoke to him, he told me to avoid problems at all cost, because 48 Laws of Power, it says when you destroy, you have to destroy completely. And he was saying that most of the time it's not worth it, because to destroy completely means you have to go to full-fledged war with somebody, right? So it's like, all right, somebody steps on your sneakers, you're gonna kill them for that? Like, probably not, right? It's probably not. It's not worth it, right? Even if you're mad in that moment because they ruined sneakers that cost $200.
Yep.
It's not worth going to jail for 30 years over, right?
Yeah.
So,
or looking over your back for that long. If you do something to them, then they have family members or friends that may wait 10 years to get you when you're vulnerable.
So when you be mindful. If you are, the worst thing you can do is halfway go to war, right?
Yeah.
Like halfway, you can't be a halfway fighter in this situation. Like, either go with the intent of destroying completely or just avoid it. And most people, most of the time, are not willing, don't have the resources, the wherewithal, the mental fortitude to destroy completely. So that's why it's best to just avoid issues most of the time.
It's not worth it.
But America has a habit of not destroying completely. This is something that has constantly repeated itself over and over again, right? Yeah. Where it's like, okay, you empower the rebels in Afghanistan to fight the Soviet Union, because the Soviet Union was the biggest threat to civilization. That's how America, communism was the biggest threat to democracy. So you think it's a good idea to empower rebels in Afghanistan because the Soviet Union invaded Afghanistan. So you supplied them with military arms, weapons, bombs, aircrafts, you name it, intelligence, and they were successful in their fight, and they defeated the Soviet Union. Now, at that time, the country's in ruins because they've defeated one of the strongest military powers of all time. Obviously, that's gonna cause a drain on your economic system as a country. It's just gonna kill your landscape. There's a variety of different things. So when they asked for, and you should watch the movie Charlie Wilson's War, when they asked America for help to rebuild their country, which was destroyed, America said no. No, it's not our problem. Thank you for defeating the Russians, but no, we're done. So they withdraw from the country, and in that time, it creates a vacuum, and this is what created the Taliban, which in return created a safe haven for Osama bin Laden, and in return led to the longest and most expensive war in United States history. With Afghanistan. Over 20 years. Over 20 years victory. With nothing accomplished. With billions of dollars spent and thousands of lives lost on each side. That's an interesting situation, but that goes back to, it's a butterfly effect.
Absolutely.
One thing has an effect on something else that you don't even know. It could be 30 years down the line, but it's like, okay, there's one thing that you did. Now you've caused a tsunami.
And now you have a whole continent of people that hate you. And even in that war, now you have a Russian enemy and enemies in Afghanistan. And then same thing in China. And then you try and build up India, but India's middle class is now bigger than our middle class. How stupid can you fucking be? Like, you don't even have to go back that far in history. You got the finesse over on the Africans you imported and killed and the Indians you killed here. Other people are not going for that.
Yeah.
And we'll have a conversation one day. Is it possible to inflate the numbers on slavery for your benefit, for the insurance contracts to cause fraud, to then build up the country past the 13 states and the colonies? Not today, but one day we will. Other people not going for that shit. We're not as strong as we used to be. We're dumber than ever. And come on, man. I keep saying we're Hulk Hogan. A menace in the 70s and 80s, flabby and sick now.